Have you ever thought a salad could put you at risk of a stroke? Could your favorite vegetables actually harm your brain overnight? And are you unknowingly making dangerous food choices, especially if you're over 60? In this video, I'll reveal 9 popular vegetables that could silently increase your stroke risk, especially when combined with common medications or eaten at the wrong time. Stick around, because number 9 will completely change how you see healthy eating. 1. Spinach. Spinach is often praised as a superfood, and it certainly has benefits, but few people talk about its hidden risks, especially for seniors. One of the primary concerns with spinach lies in its high oxalate content. Oxalates are naturally occurring compounds found in many leafy greens, but spinach contains some of the highest levels. Now here's the problem. When oxalates are consumed in large amounts, especially alongside calcium or vitamin D supplements, which many older adults take for bone health, they can form calcium oxalate crystals. These crystals don't just affect the kidneys by potentially leading to kidney stones, they can also contribute to vascular calcification. That's a process where blood vessels, particularly arteries, become stiff and narrow due to calcium buildup. This condition significantly increases the risk of hypertension, blood clots, and ischemic strokes. Furthermore, spinach contains vitamin K1, which is essential for blood clotting. However, if you're on blood-thinning medications like warfarin, Coumadin, your doctor likely advised you to maintain a consistent intake of vitamin K. Sudden increases in spinach consumption can counteract the effects of these medications, making your blood more likely to clot. The risk becomes more pronounced in seniors, whose metabolism of both medication and nutrients can vary from day to day. Another lesser-known issue is spinach's role in inflammation when not balanced with other nutrients. Oxalates can trigger low-grade inflammation in some people, especially those with gut microbiome imbalances. Inflammation is one of the key contributors to atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque in the arteries, which sets the stage for stroke. Also, consider the timing of consumption. Eating large amounts of spinach in the evening may interfere with calcium absorption or interact poorly with supplements taken at night. The result? A gradual increase in vascular rigidity that goes unnoticed, until a sudden vascular event like a transient ischemic attack or stroke occurs. The takeaway: spinach isn't dangerous on its own, but for seniors, particularly those on supplements or medications, it's crucial to moderate intake, avoid large spikes in consumption, and stay well hydrated to support oxalate clearance. Consulting a healthcare provider before making dietary changes is not just wise, it could be life-saving. 2. Broccoli. Broccoli is a nutritional powerhouse. It's packed with fiber, antioxidants, and a host of vitamins, particularly vitamin K1. This vitamin is crucial for healthy blood clotting and bone metabolism. But here's where things get complicated. Vitamin K can directly interfere with anticoagulant medications, especially those prescribed to prevent stroke or treat atrial fibrillation, such as warfarin. Vitamin K works by helping the liver produce proteins that encourage clotting. Anticoagulants, on the other hand, are prescribed to prevent unwanted clot formation. If you suddenly eat a large serving of broccoli or increase your intake over a few days, you can unknowingly reduce the effectiveness of your blood thinner. This creates a dangerous situation where you believe you're protected, but you're not. What makes this risk so tricky is that broccoli isn't the only food with vitamin K, but it's one of the most concentrated sources. Just 1 cup of cooked broccoli can contain over 100% of the recommended daily intake. That means even a single serving can shift your INR levels, a measure of how long it takes your blood to clot. If your Indian rupee drops too low, you're at higher risk for stroke, especially if you have underlying cardiovascular issues. But the story doesn't end there. Broccoli also contains glucosinolates, which the body converts into isothiocyanates, powerful compounds with anti-inflammatory and potential anti-cancer properties. However, These compounds can also affect liver enzymes involved in drug metabolism. For seniors taking multiple medications, this means broccoli might subtly change how your body processes drugs. Not just anticoagulants, but potentially statins, blood pressure meds, or even anti-diabetic medications. Another overlooked point is broccoli's fiber content. While generally beneficial, fiber can affect the absorption of medications if taken too closely together. Some older adults with slower digestion or reduced stomach acid may see a delayed or reduced effect from their meds if they consistently eat broccoli around dosing times. Then there's the bioavailability issue. Vitamin K1 from plant sources isn't as easily absorbed as vitamin K2 from fermented foods or animal sources. So you might think your intake is moderate, but with high consumption, especially in cooked form, the body can absorb more than expected. The recommendation here isn't to avoid broccoli, but to keep intake consistent, especially if you're on medication. Sudden dietary changes are the enemy of stable health in aging bodies. Ideally, seniors should work with a dietitian or physician to find the right balance between getting the benefits of broccoli without compromising the effectiveness of their medications. Understanding these interactions isn't about fear, it's about precision and prevention. When you eat with knowledge, you turn your plate into a tool for health instead of risk. 3. Romaine lettuce. Romaine lettuce is often seen as a light, hydrating, and healthy base for salads. And it certainly can be. But what most people don't realize is that romaine has diuretic properties. It subtly increases urine production and promotes water excretion from the body. While that might not sound like a problem, it becomes a hidden risk when consumed at night, especially in older adults. Why? Because nighttime dehydration can happen without you noticing. Seniors are already more prone to dehydration due to a natural decline in thirst sensation and age-related changes in kidney function. When you eat a large romaine-based salad for dinner, or as a late snack, you're adding a natural diuretic on top of a situation where fluid intake is already reduced. Dehydration doesn't just mean dry skin or feeling thirsty. In the context of stroke risk, dehydration leads to hemoconcentration, a state where your blood becomes more viscous or thicker. Thicker blood flows more slowly, which makes it more likely to form clots, especially dangerous in people with existing cardiovascular issues, diabetes, or a history of TIA, transient ischemic attack. And there's another layer. Romaine is rich in nitrates, which convert in the body to nitric oxide, a compound that helps dilate blood vessels and lower blood pressure. In the daytime, that's often beneficial, but combined with blood pressure medications taken at night, the effect can sometimes push blood pressure too low during sleep. This is called nocturnal hypotension, and it has been linked to poor brain perfusion and an increased risk of stroke in older adults. The result? You could go to sleep after a light, healthy dinner of romaine, experience subtle dehydration, a dip in blood pressure, and wake up with a higher risk of stroke or clot-related symptoms. The takeaway: if you're over 60, on any diuretics or blood pressure medication, avoid large servings of romaine lettuce late in the day. Instead, shift your raw leafy greens to breakfast or lunch when your body is better hydrated and metabolically active. Monitor your fluid intake carefully, especially in warm climates or when taking medications that affect kidney or heart function. 4. Raw carrots. Carrots are often seen as the perfect guilt-free snack, crunchy, colorful, and loaded with beta-carotene. But eating raw carrots at night, especially in larger amounts, can cause blood sugar disturbances that may have deeper implications for your vascular health and stroke risk. Let's break it down. Raw carrots are high in simple carbohydrates, especially natural sugars like sucrose and glucose. Although the glycemic index of carrots is moderate, the glycemic load can add up quickly if you eat a large serving. When consumed late in the day, particularly in the absence of protein or fat, carrots can rapidly raise blood glucose levels. Your pancreas responds by releasing insulin, but often overcompensates, especially in insulin-resistant individuals or those with prediabetes. What follows is a blood sugar crash, and here's where things get dangerous. This crash can trigger the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, epinephrine. These hormones, in turn, cause your heart rate to spike, constrict your blood vessels, and increase blood pressure variability, all of which are known precursors to clot formation and stroke, especially in vulnerable populations like seniors. Nighttime is an especially poor window for blood sugar swings. While you sleep, your body is supposed to be in a parasympathetic rest and repair mode. But if you spike and crash your glucose right before bed, you push your body into sympathetic stress mode. That stress can disrupt your sleep, elevate your overnight heart rate, and place undue pressure on your cardiovascular system. There's also the issue of nutrient synergy. Raw carrots are high in beta-carotene, a precursor to vitamin A. That's great, but only if it's absorbed. Without dietary fat, beta-carotene absorption drops significantly. So if you're eating raw carrots alone, especially late at night, you may not get the benefit you think you are. If you're finding this information useful so far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel Consejos Saludables. We share practical tips and up-to-date advice to help you live healthier and protect your brain and heart every day. Stay tuned for more valuable content. Instead, you may just be introducing glycemic instability without the protective payoff of antioxidants. In seniors, these effects are amplified by slower metabolism, reduced pancreatic function, and medication interactions. For example, many people take metformin, insulin, or sulfonylureas at night. Adding a glycemic spike just before those medications peak can create unexpected hypoglycemia, which is itself a risk factor for cardiovascular events. The smarter strategy? Consume carrots in moderation earlier in the day and always pair them with a healthy fat, like avocado, olive oil, or nuts, to slow absorption and improve nutrient uptake. Raw vegetables are not universally bad, but context, timing, and pairing matter more than ever as we age. 5. Garlic has earned a strong reputation as a natural remedy for everything from high blood pressure to immune support. And yes, it does have powerful cardiovascular benefits. But when it comes to stroke risk, especially for seniors on medication, garlic can be a double-edged sword. The key compound in garlic is allicin, which is released when garlic is chopped or crushed. Allicin and related sulfur compounds act as natural blood thinners. They inhibit platelet aggregation, which means they reduce your blood's ability to form clots. In theory, that sounds like a good thing. After all, strokes are often caused by blood clots that block arteries in the brain. But here's where the risk comes in. Many older adults are already taking pharmaceutical blood thinners like aspirin, warfarin, clopidogrel, or apixaban. When you combine garlic with these medications, the blood-thinning effect becomes too strong. This significantly increases the risk of bleeding, both external and internal. Internal bleeding is especially dangerous because it can go unnoticed until it becomes a medical emergency. Another issue is dosage inconsistency. Unlike medications, the strength of garlic isn't standardized. One clove can vary widely in its allicin content depending on how it was prepared, stored, or cooked. So if you're consuming raw garlic or garlic supplements on top of prescribed medication, the effects are unpredictable. The risk doesn't stop with blood thinners. Garlic can also interfere with certain blood pressure medications, amplifying their effects. The result can be a dangerous drop in blood pressure, especially when taken at night. Low blood pressure can reduce cerebral perfusion, the amount of oxygen your brain receives, potentially increasing the risk of mini-strokes or falls, which are often underdiagnosed in the elderly. There's also some evidence that garlic may interact with liver enzymes, altering how your body metabolizes medications. This means it could raise or lower blood levels of important drugs without warning, depending on your liver function and overall health status. To be clear, garlic can be part of a healthy diet. But for seniors, especially those on medications, it should be treated with the same caution as a pharmaceutical. If you're taking anticoagulants, always discuss garlic supplements or high garlic intake with your doctor. And avoid combining garlic with medication close to bedtime, when blood pressure naturally dips and clotting dynamics change. 6. Onions. Onions are packed with antioxidants, especially quercetin, which has strong anti-inflammatory effects. They also contain compounds that naturally lower blood pressure, making them a favorite in heart-healthy diets. But for older adults, particularly those on medication, onions can create unexpected complications. The primary concern is hypotension or low blood pressure. If you're already taking antihypertensive drugs, such as ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, or diuretics, adding a large amount of onion to your diet can push your blood pressure too low, especially at night. When blood pressure drops below a certain threshold during sleep, brain perfusion may decrease, which can increase the risk of silent strokes or ischemic events. These strokes often go unnoticed until they cause cognitive decline or neurological symptoms later on. Onions also affect platelet function, though less aggressively than garlic. Regular consumption may subtly reduce your blood's ability to clot, especially if you're also on blood thinners or anti-inflammatory medications like ibuprofen or naproxen. Over time, this increases the risk of bruising, internal bleeding, or slow wound healing. Another layer of complexity is individual sensitivity. Some people are more reactive to onions due to how they metabolize sulfur compounds. These compounds can affect liver enzymes, which are responsible for breaking down medications. If onions are consumed regularly in large amounts, they could theoretically alter the blood levels of medications, particularly those with a narrow therapeutic range, like warfarin, digoxin, or lithium. Also important is the timing of consumption. Eating onions late in the evening can lead to digestive discomfort, gas, or reflux in sensitive individuals. This disrupts sleep quality, which indirectly affects blood pressure regulation, stress hormone balance, and stroke risk. Poor sleep is increasingly recognized as a contributing factor in vascular disease, especially in people over 60. Finally, onions can cause a delayed drop in blood pressure a few hours after consumption. Combined with medications that peak overnight, this can result in morning dizziness, weakness, or even fainting, all of which are signs that the brain is not getting adequate blood flow. The conclusion: onions are healthy, but like garlic, they require precision and balance. For seniors or anyone on cardiovascular medications, it's essential to monitor your blood pressure regularly, stay consistent with onion intake, and avoid consuming large amounts in the evening. Always talk with your doctor before making major dietary changes, especially if you're managing chronic conditions. 7. Corn is often considered a harmless side dish, sweet, starchy, and widely consumed in many forms, from boiled kernels to tortillas and cornflakes. But when it comes to senior health and stroke risk, corn carries some overlooked dangers that deserve serious attention. The primary issue with corn lies in its high starch content, which makes it a high glycemic food. This means corn breaks down quickly into glucose, causing a rapid spike in blood sugar levels. For seniors, especially those with insulin resistance, prediabetes, or type 2 diabetes, this spike can be followed by a sharp insulin response and then a blood sugar crash. Why is that dangerous? Because this spike crash cycle creates instability in the body's vascular and hormonal systems. High blood sugar thickens the blood, stiffens the blood vessels, and increases inflammatory markers in the bloodstream, all of which set the stage for atherosclerosis and clot formation. Then, as blood sugar crashes, The body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to restore balance. These hormones raise blood pressure, increase heart rate, and further constrict blood vessels, creating the perfect storm for stroke-triggering conditions, especially during the night. And it doesn't stop there. Corn is also low in fiber compared to other whole grains and vegetables. That means it passes quickly through the digestive tract without blunting the glycemic impact. For older adults, who often have slower metabolism and weaker insulin responses, this rapid glucose absorption is even more problematic. Over time, it contributes to endothelial dysfunction, a condition where the inner lining of blood vessels becomes damaged, impairing circulation and increasing clot risk. Another concern is that many processed corn products, cornbread, cornmeal, popcorn, and corn syrup, contain refined starches and added sugars, which intensify the glycemic load even more. These highly processed versions strip away what little fiber and nutrients corn has, leaving behind empty carbs that flood the bloodstream and overload the pancreas. In some seniors, corn can also worsen gut inflammation, especially when consumed frequently. Certain proteins in corn may irritate the gut lining in sensitive individuals, potentially increasing leaky gut syndrome, which is associated with systemic inflammation and autoimmune responses. Chronic inflammation is a known risk factor for cardiovascular events, including stroke. Corn might look innocent, but it behaves like a metabolic disruptor when eaten in excess, particularly at night when the body is winding down and least capable of managing glycemic fluctuations. The solution is not to avoid corn entirely, but to limit portions, avoid processed forms, and pair it with fiber, fat, or protein to slow absorption. Seniors with cardiovascular risk or on glucose-lowering medications should monitor their post-meal glucose levels closely when consuming corn, and consider shifting starchy foods to earlier in the day when the body is more metabolically active. 8. Asparagus. Asparagus is often considered a detox vegetable, praised for its diuretic and anti-inflammatory properties. While these effects can be beneficial in some contexts, they may pose unexpected risks for older adults, particularly in relation to hydration and stroke prevention. The key concern with asparagus is its diuretic effect. Asparagus contains high levels of asparagine, an amino acid that increases urine output. While this may help with reducing bloating or fluid retention, it also contributes to fluid loss, and that can be problematic when it happens at night. Why? Because nighttime dehydration thickens the blood. As blood volume decreases, the concentration of red cells and clotting factors increases, making the blood more viscous and more likely to form clots. Seniors already have reduced renal concentration ability, meaning their bodies struggle to retain water efficiently. So even mild diuretic effects from food like asparagus can tip the balance toward dehydration. And since many seniors already take diuretics for high blood pressure or congestive heart failure, adding asparagus, especially in the evening, can lead to compounded fluid loss. The result is low plasma volume, poor circulation, and an elevated risk of thromboembolic events, such as ischemic stroke. There's another layer. Asparagus also contains fructans, a type of fermentable fiber that can cause gas, bloating, and even intestinal inflammation in some individuals, especially those with irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, or sensitive digestion. Disruption in the gut is more than a digestive issue. It affects the gut-brain axis and can raise systemic inflammation, which contributes to vascular damage over time. Additionally, the timing of asparagus consumption is crucial. Eating asparagus at night, when your body is naturally winding down and blood pressure drops, may trigger nocturia, frequent urination during the night. This disrupts sleep, which is increasingly recognized as a critical factor in vascular and brain health. Poor sleep is associated with increased sympathetic activity, leading to higher early morning blood pressure surges, the most common time for strokes and heart attacks to occur. In seniors with already fragile sleep patterns or cardiovascular conditions, the combination of nighttime fluid loss, disturbed sleep, and blood pressure variability creates a silent but significant stroke risk. The takeaway: asparagus can be part of a healthy diet, but for older adults, it should be consumed earlier in the day and in moderation if they're on diuretics or managing fluid-sensitive conditions. Always balance asparagus intake with adequate hydration and consider your medication schedule and sleep quality before making it a regular part of your evening meal. 9. Tomatoes. Tomatoes are widely celebrated for their antioxidant content, especially lycopene, which is linked to heart health and cancer prevention. However, tomatoes contain several compounds that can have complex effects on brain chemistry and blood vessel function, particularly in seniors vulnerable to stroke. One group of these compounds are alkaloids and biogenic amines, which can influence neurotransmitters and the tone of blood vessels. In some cases, these compounds may mimic stroke symptoms such as dizziness, numbness, or blurred vision by temporarily disrupting nerve signaling and vascular dilation. While not dangerous by themselves in healthy individuals, in seniors with pre-existing vascular fragility or impaired brain blood flow, these effects can be unsettling and potentially increase stroke risk. Tomatoes also have high levels of potassium, which helps regulate blood pressure. But sudden increases in potassium intake, especially combined with certain blood pressure medications or kidney dysfunction common in older adults, can cause imbalances in electrolyte levels. This can lead to arrhythmias or irregular heartbeats, indirectly raising stroke risk. Another factor is that some seniors may experience acid reflux or gastrointestinal discomfort from tomatoes, especially when consumed in large amounts or at night. Poor digestion can increase systemic inflammation and stress hormone levels, further contributing to vascular instability. Finally, the way tomatoes are prepared matters. Processed tomato products like sauces and ketchups often contain high amounts of added salt and sugar, both of which can worsen hypertension and metabolic health, key stroke risk factors. In summary, while tomatoes offer many health benefits, seniors should be mindful of portion sizes, timing of consumption, and preparation methods. Eating tomatoes earlier in the day and choosing fresh over heavily processed forms can help maximize benefits while minimizing risks. Not all vegetables are universally safe at all times, especially for seniors managing medications, hydration, and chronic conditions. Spinach, broccoli, romaine lettuce, raw carrots, garlic, onions, corn, asparagus, and tomatoes all have unique effects on blood clotting, blood pressure, hydration, and blood sugar that can raise stroke risk if not carefully managed. Understanding the timing of consumption, potential interactions with medications, and hydration status is essential for turning these healthy foods into allies rather than hidden dangers. Always consult your healthcare provider before making significant dietary changes, and prioritize consistency over sudden shifts. Stay informed, listen to your body, and choose wisely. Your brain and heart will thank you. If you found this information valuable, subscribe to our channel for more practical and up-to-date advice on healthy living at every age.